I'm back. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Watch Your Mouth Reviews. This is your boy James, where I am here to give my honest review while trying to watch my mouth. And it definitely is not going to happen in this video, but that's okay. We'll live to fight another day. Ooh, I have a glare. Sorry, y'all, the window right there. So let me kind of move my camera a little bit. Joining me as always is my co-host, Mrs. Best. I'll say what's up to her.
Good afternoon. I am happy to be here. I hope that everyone likes, shares, subscribes, all of those good things. And apologies if my voice scare y'all. I'm not feeling too well, but I'm happy to be here because the last few episodes of this show were really good.
They were really good. They have really stepped it up. I take back what I said. I think this show does have something. Whether this is the element I wanted to go into, maybe not, but they have something here. But while you subscribing to me, please, yes, subscribe to Mrs. Best's channel. Any reviews or recaps I do not cover on my channel, we cover on her channel. We just released Real Housewives of Miami. We do The Valley on her channel and also Basketball Wives. So if you love those TV shows and want to hear our opinions, you'll go over to Mrs. Best's channel and make sure you subscribe so that every week you can definitely tune in to see what we say. And while you're subscribing to us, we ask that you please subscribe to Shana's channel. She has her main channel right here, and then her backup channel in my description box. Shana is trying to get remonetized on YouTube. She is doing her best. She is here. She is committed. She is doing Real Housewives of Atlanta. She is doing Never Ever Met. I think she has another show that she picked up. Shayna's out here doing it, y'all, and she deserves to be monetized because Shayna was one of the first content creators on YouTube to embrace and reach out to me and make sure that my subscriber count went up as well. So we want to pay homage to Shayna always on my channel. So while we're here, this is going to be a little bit of a different review recap style that I'm used to doing. Usually I go moment by episode, but because I have not been here for 8, 9, and 10, I did miss those 3 episodes, mainly because 9 and 10 premiered on Saturday, and I just didn't have the time to cover them both, and then I missed 8. So we're going to do them all here kind of in the sequence of the mother and son duo. So we're going to start with Josh and Oma. So Josh and Oma, we still have 3 remaining ladies. We have Lexi, we have Tamaris, and we have Chambrielle. And I want to shout out Chambrielle because Chambrielle did reach my comment section. She said that I made her laugh and that Mrs. Best, she appreciated the words of encouragement because Mrs. Best did say some nice things on the last video recap. So we want to shout out to Chambrielle. We hope that you watched this episode or this recap video and hope that you share it amongst the other ladies as well if you're still in touch with them. And I would love to have you on my channel, Chambrielle. If you want to come on Watch Your Mouth Reviews and give us some of the behind the scene things that we did not see on TV that would make sense as we were capping this, feel free to come by, Chambrielle. I would love to have you here. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with that. So the episode opens up with Josh and Oma. They're going to have a crab boil, and they're going to invite, some of the ladies' family and friends to come by, as well as Josh's older brother, Michael, is going to be stopping by as well. So the ladies are kind of confused on the side dishes. They don't know exactly what they should be cooking. Lexi doesn't like dirty rice or shouldn't cook dirty rice because she doesn't like the name of it. I thought that was stupid. We learned that Chambrielle can cook, but she's never made potato salad before. So I was like, okay. So you ladies is doing it. They got y'all with some real challenges. So the ladies at first did not know if it was just going to be them because they saw a lot of chairs and a lot of placements where it seemed like more people would be joining. So when everyone gets there, everyone is happy to see their loved ones. Chambrielle had her friend Kingston, who looked very familiar to me. I feel like I've seen him before. I just can't remember where. She had her friend Kingston. Tamaris had her mother and best friend with her. And then Lexi also had her best friend of 10 years who has kind of seen her through a lot of different things. And, questions were coming back and forth, the experiences and everything. And Michael, who was Josh's brother, also said that Lexi was very beautiful. She was sexy to him. And to me, as I said, his family gives very colorist vibes. I don't know why, but they do. And I just felt like Mrs. Best said, Lexi looked like everybody else that we didn't see that's light skin with some good hair. But I'm not going to take away that she's not beautiful. She is very beautiful. But I'm just saying, the way they pedestalize her, it really is almost annoying and sickening. Mrs. Best, how did you feel about that?
The same. I feel like this is common in the black community though. Um Especially amongst like black men in terms of their preference. Like this is where things like colorism come up. Yes, Lexi is lighter complected and I feel like that is why they are so quick to comment on her being so fine because honestly, Josh has three top tier women in terms of looks. I think of all of the guys who are competing, all three of the girls that are left as well as all of the women that went home were all very attractive naturally. So it's weird that everyone keeps pointing out Lexi as if she's something special. I'm not saying she's not a beautiful girl, but the preference feels ignorant from Josh and his brother. I guess I could say that to be kind. I don't know. I didn't really care for his brother, so I'm just like, are we gonna see everybody but his mama?
Pretty much, that's how I feel. I feel like his mama didn't want to be on TV, so and Oma looked like she ready for the spotlight. So that's why I kind of feel like we won't see everybody, which is unfortunate. 'Cause the show's called Somebody's Son. I mean, his mama could have made an appearance just once, just to kind of see what he's into or whatever. So as you know, they're kind of mingling everything. Everyone's asking the tough questions. I'm not going to go blow by blow because I want to get to this elimination because this elimination pissed me off. So it comes to a point where Oma has to make the decision this time of which one of the three ladies will go. So when it comes time for the elimination process for Oma to make her decision, she decides to keep Tamaris and she decides to keep Chambrielle. And she goes ahead and sends home Lexi. So as Lexi and Josh were walking out, and he's saying, I'm sorry about this, I was hoping, for better. Lexi hit him with the, I had my bags packed already because I kind of felt like I would like the other two ladies to get to know you better because I feel like for me, I'm sure I'm your wife in your mind, but you're not my husband in my mind. And I respected her for saying that because it was honest. Do I believe her? No. I don't believe her bags are packed. I believe that she would have got the opportunity to stay. She would have. But I think that there is a part of her that feels like maybe Josh wasn't as connected to her as she would have liked him to be. And that's because she has a lot more life experience than he does. And I think waiting for him to catch up to that would probably build up a little bit more of a distance than him coming into the role naturally ready to be, two additional children's father on top of, maybe wanting his own kids at some point. So Josh is blindsided by this. He doesn't know exactly how to feel. And instead of him taking it on the chin to say, okay, that is a fair assessment, he decides to be immature about it. So as he's walking her to the car, he shuts the doors and he says, get the fuck out of here. And then he goes into the house and starts, talking to himself, or if somebody was there, I didn't see them. But he just saying like, "What you mean your bags was packed? Like you just mad because you got eliminated and stuff," and just being completely childish and immature. And I don't know who he ended up with out of Tamaris or Chambrielle, but because Chambrielle actually commented to my channel, Chambrielle, I hope you weren't the one that picked, or I hope if you did get picked that you watched this episode and know that immaturity, even though we all saw it from the beginning, but that immaturity lives on when he doesn't get his way. I hope you guys saw that because that's just one instance. This lady just said, "I don't feel you're my husband," and he took that as like, "Oh, I'm the pick." That was his ego. So when his ego get bruised, he acts out of character. So I hope y'all saw that. Mrs. Best, how did you feel about Josh's reaction to Lexi being eliminated, saying that she doesn't believe that he was her, soulmate to begin with?
Child, that was childish. I think it was childish as a whole. It's nothing cultural because they seem like the type of people that'll lean into their culture as Africans. And I am also African and I get annoyed when other Africans do that. But nah, I didn't like that. It showed that he's a very small man, or at least he views himself as a small man. You're not a catch, bro. I said it. I've been saying it really every recap that we've done. I mean what I say. The women that Josh has are so well accomplished individually that they really shouldn't be competing for a nigga. A nigga should be competing for them. Like I stand by that. Lexi, okay, she had kids. She's talented. Chambrielle, I still think HGTV needs to call her. She's a mortgage broker. She's young. She's black. She's chocolate. And she's accomplished with some type of personality that's interesting. So I still feel that way. Tamara, she has things going for herself, as well as who was it? Somebody got sent home. But
Lexi.
I yeah, I'm annoyed with that. Now, Lexi, I did feel like, girl, okay, you were sent home. If you know he's not your husband, then just go. It's like she had to say something versus accepting that she was being dumped. So I didn't like how Josh moved, but I also feel like Lexi has an ego in the same way. I feel like she's used
Hmm.
to attention from men. She's used to getting what she likes. And this is why I always say I don't feel people who have kids should date people who do not have kids, because the person who does not have kids is always going to have the perspective of Josh and his family. Because, especially, she said her kids are 3 and 6 or 4 and 6 or something like that. Whoever
Yes.
she dates is going to have to participate in raising that child. That child is going to get to know that person and become comfortable with them in the parent viewpoint. So I wish they would have just sent her home at the beginning if that was going to be such a big issue in their family, which they knew. But she had ego too. She could have just went home quietly. But I'm not surprised with him either. So I
Yeah.
just want this man to show us his W-2, his I-9s. I would love to see his tax returns, because you're talking about you a free agent. Ain't nobody picked you up in years. You're talking about you a model, but there's nothing that special or cute about you that would make me want to see you in a campaign. So how consistent is the money, Joshy boy?
I just want to know at what point, Shambria, if you are still watching me, I want to know at what point did Josh reveal he was a free agent to you ladies? Was it at the end, or did he reveal it earlier on and y'all just kept it on the low for filming purposes? Because I want to know, when did he reveal it? Because he's holding it close to his chest as if he tell y'all were gonna be some thirst traps waiting to get pregnant by him. That's how he's moving. And I hate that, because you and Tamaris, like Mrs. Best said, are both accomplished ladies. Y'all have your own business. Y'all got your own stuff going on. So I just want to know why he's holding that so close to the chest. So please let me know, Chambrio, because since you're the one who watches me, I don't know if any of the other ladies watch me, but since you watch me for sure, I want you to comment when did he reveal that to you, ladies, if he even revealed it to you?
Because I'll tell
I
you
just want to know.
this, a mortgage broker, yeah, the housing market be up and down in all 50 states, but a mortgage broker is the one signing them deals. So she always going to be paid. There is
Yep.
always something to be sold, whether it's commercial real estate or whether she's just selling regular real estate to people or it's some land. She's good and has a job. If he is a free agent with football, that stuff puts a timeline on your career because it's taxing on the body. If he's modeling in place of that, he's still in the same situation because there are limitations with age, weight, and things like that that come with modeling. So I'm annoyed with Josh, but I think that is something that a lot of people want to know. I'm also annoyed with Oma and her wigs. I'm sorry. I it's now I get it. I'm not perfect either. I'm not rich by any means, but if you can't afford to lay the lace right, don't fucking wear it. I feel that way. And the wig stiffens with each episode. She must not have packed a flat iron.
Maybe
Something
not.
going
I don't
on.
know. I don't know, but I just, yeah, I, out of all of the, see, no, I'm not going to say that, because there's also a mother son duo I don't like just as much. But I'm just saying, this episode, like the whole elimination of Lexi, made me look at Josh even more with a side eye than I did before. So that's pretty much what happened with Josh. We kind of take a break from him. We're going to move on to Chad and Katina. So where we left off with Chad and Katina is that he was having a conversation with Lauren, and Lauren was kind of putting some game on him just to see where his mindset is and see if he really can handle her. Now, mind you, out of the three ladies, Jasmine is yet to get a date with him. So she's lurking around, trying to, listen in the conversation, do the dishes and everything. That's where we left off, right? So now it comes time for, them to, get a date. And so they do a rock climbing exercise on their date. And the purpose is to communicate. Now, Lauren doesn't really communicate well. We kind of saw that she is a boss. She moves to her own beat of the drum. So she pretty much can handle anything on her own. And that's what she showed us, is that she really didn't need Chad to guide her. She was going to make it up there whether he was there or not. And to some extent, I like women like that. I do, because it kind of makes me feel like society always puts that pressure on women to always need a man in everything. And there's some women who don't need men. Yes, they should want them, but they don't really need them. So that's kind of where I like Lauren's standpoint. I like Lauren just in general. She was my favorite out of everybody. So, you know, everybody else, kind of did well. They did, do the communicating. But the person who wins a date was the person who never got one, which was Jasmine. So they have a date with her at the house, which was crazy to me. I'm like, y'all couldn't take them to a restaurant, really? So, you know, they're filling each other out. And he's all like, well, why don't you come by the room or whatever? We can do something. And Jasmine's like, no, you come to my room. Now, when she said that, I said, Jasmine, you playing. You are absolutely playing. Because why would you want him to come to your room and all of this? And it was like, okay, just in case one of them other ladies walk in, you want them to see that you got the upper hand. I said, that's very clever of you, Jasmine. Now, that don't necessarily have to be her truth. I'm just kind of speculating, but it just seemed weird that that's what she wanted him to do. Mrs. Best, how did you feel about that?
She's young. Let me just call it this. Jasmine is 26 years old. She's a student. She can't talk to us about her career. She says that she's in transition, but she's a student. But she's not, she may be 26 years of age, but I could tell in terms of maturity, emotionally, physically, intellectually, especially as it relates to dating, she is not there yet. I'm not saying that as an insult. The girl just seemed young because, baby, you don't want to go to his room, but you want him to come to your room. It would have been smarter to go to his room because ain't nobody just walking in his room. So that's number one. But number two, I would be questioning him and taking the opportunity to say, well, you keep sneaking off and you want to spend time with me, but why is your mom not choosing me for any of these dates? Because now it's forcing them to kind of like have a relationship that is going to be driven strictly by lust.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not good. Like we can really like I can go outside and find somebody to fuck on as quiet as this kid. But out once that's done, then what? So I'm looking at her and I'm like, she's moving like I moved when I first met my husband. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
lucky that he was a stand-up guy. And I met my husband when I was 17. So this is a 26-year-old woman. She should not be moving like this. She seems way too invested when not much has happened. Honestly, I feel like Chad's dealing with her because she's easy to manipulate. That sounds so mean. I'm not saying Jasmine's not intelligent, but she gives the type of bitch like if I was to date her in a same sex relationship, I feel like I could run her ass. Like she's too invested too soon. She needs
Mm-hmm.
to like relax.
Yes. So speaking of which, now we move over to Paige. Now Paige also got a date from another activity where they went go-kart racing. And from that, she has a conversation because apparently Chad is kind of giving her like the cold shoulder and kind of giving her the, distance. And she doesn't know where that's coming from. So on their day, she decided to go ahead and confront him about that. And she said that, why are you giving me the cold shoulder? And mind you, this comes after he had already had Jasmine a night or two. Because apparently it was more than one night. But he's kind of, saying, that's not my intention. I never wanted to be disrespectful to you and everything. And I'm gonna say it like this, Paige, it's not you. You were the pick his mom chose. And when it comes to his mom, y'all have to understand, this is why I said I feel like they're not being honest about their dynamic, Chad and Katina. So it kind of comes across to the other ladies that they have this bond in this relationship when they really don't. Because anything that Katina does, Chad shuns it. And the same thing goes with Paige. That was not his picking. That was Katina's picking. So when it comes to her, he's basically treating her in a resentment because you were my mom's choice. Kind of like if his mom gave him a toy. I don't like that toy because my mom gave it to me, not because it's not a good toy and not because she didn't spend good money on it. It's because it came from her. So I think that even though her argument is valid, she should be angry at him. She should be, giving him, the clarification that, hey, I don't like how you move and that's not how I want. This is a red flag for me. she should be confronting, but understand that this is not a stigma from him. This is a stigma from the relationship he has with Katina. You just happen to be collateral damage on that. So I hope you realize that when you watch this back to see that it wasn't really him doing it. It was the fact that it was Katina's choice. Mrs. Best, how do you feel about that?
I feel like Paige is full of shit and needs to wake up. It's clear that man don't like her.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying anything is wrong with her. Pretty girl, but I feel like she's too aggressive for him. She knows exactly what she wants, but she seems like the like kind of an alpha female. So I feel like that will be her struggle dating in general. I feel like she's a little too aggressive for a man that's looking for a woman, just in general. But separate from that, it don't take hell. Anybody could figure out that there's no connection between Paige and Chad. None. You could tell that he's trying when he's around her, but I don't see them as having a connection. I don't even see them as being friends. I just think some people in life just aren't meant to be in any type of way, and these two are that way. It's strange that his mom keeps pushing them on each other because they don't
Yeah.
have that chemistry together. So at the same time, Katina should be picking up on that, but she don't care. She just cares about choosing a girl that she likes the most, that she's closest to, so that she can have somebody to talk to instead of having to talk to her son. But yeah, Paige is full of it. Like, girl, he don't like you. It's very clear you're super cool with his mom. And I will say the dynamic is strange. Like, I feel like of all the women, Paige is the one that's gotten close to Katina in a way that doesn't make sense. It's a little too much too soon. So I don't know. We'll see. But I'm sick
Hmm.
of her complaining about it. Girl, he don't like you. You've had every single date. For someone who's had almost every date, and y'all still have to question how you feel and all of these things, that should tell you right there. Because all the other women ain't had hardly no dates with him, and they getting plenty of attention.
Right.
So Paige is full of it.
Hmm. I can see that. I can see, you know, I can see a lot of different things and a lot of different dynamics when it comes to Paige. I feel like she's not his type, and I feel that Katina is putting that pressure because she's probably the more humbleable, more so because Lauren is too much woman for him. I'm just gonna put that out there. She just is, and we're not gonna act like she's not. She's older, more accomplished. She has more
That's
life
the truth.
experience, so it's kind of like I don't see Lauren really being with him. And as far as Jasmine goes, she's more of the easy target because, as you can see, it didn't take much for her to invite him back to the bed because she knew that in terms that could be a form of manipulation to have a leg up on the other ladies since they didn't give him none of. I'm not saying she did sleep with him, but I'm just saying like the operative was there that he was in your bedroom. So one's to assume that that's probably what happened. But if it didn't, then I stand corrected and I apologize. But at the same time, why invite him to your bedroom if y'all just gonna be in there just looking at each other?
They
It
could
just,
have easily just been talking. Nah, ain't no nothing. They knew what the hell they was doing, inviting that boy in the bed, and I feel like that's how Jasmine moves in general with boys, because that is how most 25-year-olds will move. But Chad, he gonna accept whatever he can. I feel like
mm,
Chad is just there for a good time, personally, but
mm.
he don't want to show that part on camera because of the
Maybe,
network.
and but what he is showing is his deep-rooted problems with Katina that I feel like need to get addressed at some point because it's way too obvious, and you know, I just hate that in this segment of him trying to find love, this is what he chooses to showcase because he is a walking red flag. He just really is. So when it comes to their elimination, um, instead of Katina eliminating somebody, which I feel like she was going to probably eliminate Jasmine, Lauren spoke up. And Lauren said, I have to be honest. With all the things that have gone on, I don't feel like Chad is for me. So I'm going to eliminate myself. And the reason why Lauren came to that conclusion is because Lauren found out about Chad and Jasmine in the bed together. And when she found out about it, Jasmine was walking around the house just crying because she felt guilty that she actually did this, which I don't feel she felt guilty about her doing this. I think something more happened that she didn't put on camera. But, you know, Lauren told Jasmine, like, look, don't sit up here. This is a competition at the end of the day. Don't apologize for something that you don't really need to be sorry about it. At the end of the day, this is what he chose to do. You're a grown ass woman, he a grown ass man. That's what it is. So Lauren eliminated herself. I actually commended her for it because I kind of felt like that was a smart thing to do. You know this man is playing games. You know this man ain't really for you. So why waste your time even further? So I appreciated Lauren for eliminating herself. Mrs. Best, how did you feel about Lauren eliminating herself?
I think it was good. Honestly, Jasmine doesn't need to be eliminated. Clearly, there's something that she has with this boy. But Lauren, that's the difference between a woman that has lived and a woman that is learning and is living for the first time. Once you get to a certain age, you know what you want, you know what you're going to deal with. But even separate from age, if you truly know who you are as a person and are content in that, you're not going to allow anybody to play with you. So Lauren is a great example of that. I was glad that she eliminated herself because Katina was just the panic that Katina had for the mess that her child made. It didn't seem like Katina cared about these girls. It didn't seem like she even cared about her son. It seemed like Katina was concerned with, oh no, I may not be able to be on this show further. So I don't know. The whole situation was cringy. I didn't like Jasmine's reaction to it. Like, girl, why are you crying? Why are you crying? Like,
I
what is
felt like
going
that was a
on?
manipulation too.
No, she was genuinely crying.
No,
And
I know
I'm
she was
like, if
genuinely
you're
crying, but I
ashamed
feel
of
like
your
that's
behavior, then why
yeah,
do it?
because that's what I'm saying. That's a manipulation. You're a grown woman. So, and you made that choice because if you didn't want to do it, or if you would have felt some remorse that if by doing that it would cause this ramification, you wouldn't have done it.
Lord.
So that's why I said it was. I mean, I think she was genuinely upset that she did it. I'm not saying those cries were fake or any those tears were fake or anything. You could tell she
She
had to
was
cry.
mad she got caught on camera.
That's
And
what
I
it
think
is, and
that's
that's what
why
I'm
she was
saying. That's the
crying.
manipulation. I think she's mad because someone walked because it was Lauren who walked in the room. I think
Yeah.
she got mad because she got caught, and the guilt that she feels is the fact that people are not going to assume that she's an like she did that to get a leg up. That's what I'm saying. It was an easy target. That's and so her tears didn't move me at all. I kind of felt like no, you're manipulating the situation because you got caught.
Yeah.
Point blank in the period. And I
Yeah.
don't, yeah, and there's nothing she could say that can make me convince others. Because what are you guilty about? You trying to get this man, and
The
by
way
all
they handled it was weird. Like, I understand, like, when I saw the door cracked and then she popped up. When she popped up, nobody would have knew if he was in the bed if he just laid there. I didn't understand because there was a moment where they did cut the scene and you see so many more people in the room. So, and like he said, he could have dropped down or something so that nobody knew he was there. But you are on a dating show, and I just can't help but think about shows like The Bachelor, or even off the wall shows like Love Island, Flavor of Love, shows like that back in the day. Like, people get together and cupcake up with different people competing on those shows. So I'm like, why is that not okay if they're all supposed to be dating? And that's why he kind of has a point too, and feeling like everybody was just looking to bond with each other versus like actually getting to know him. Because if they were actually competing for him versus forming these legitimate relationships with each other, then her walking in wouldn't have been that big of a deal. So I don't know. It was weird, but Chad sucks.
he
Chad
does.
sucks. Katina sucks. They can go.
I agree. I'm not a big fan of them too. I'm just not. I feel like for me, watching them on this camera, they needed to go to Dr. Phil versus Own to find him somebody because to me, when it came to the point where he was like, "I need to get my leg back," and the fact that you would just pick apart the youngest and most impressionable one to then go and get in the bed with, it's kind of like to me you're not as authentic as you claim to be, sir. You're just not, and that's just how I feel about him. I'm not here for chatting Katinas. I'm just not. That this was a wash for me, almost like Josh Noma. But we gonna move it along, y'all, because I'm gonna try to get through this as quick as I can. Um, so make sure you guys like the video, like, comment, and subscribe. You know all that fun stuff. So we make sure we get our just due for what we do for y'all. So we're gonna move on to the final straw for me, Charlize and James. And when I tell y'all, I'm gonna be honest with y'all, and I'm gonna be very clear. I'm gonna be very stern. This part of the recap for those of y'all that like Charlize and think she's a stand-up mom. This is not the live for you. This is where you need to drop out. I will completely understand if you do not like the video and do not give a comment or do not give me a view. But I'm just saying, right from this point on forward, this is not going to be nice to Charlize. I'm just saying that now. This what she did was utterly disgusting. So we're going to get into it as we go forward. So the episode opens up. They're going to have episode 8 has a fish fry, and they're going to, have a fish fry, and the ladies are going to cook the sides, very similar to Josh and Noma's situation. But it's the ladies' mothers that are going to come this time. Now, why everybody's parents couldn't come was very weird. I don't know if Chambrio doesn't have. I know she says she has her mom. I know she said she just built a relationship with her dad. So I don't know what that could have been. And I don't know why Lexi's parents weren't there, but I need to, we need some more context on why these parents are not on this show when this is called Somebody's Son. But anyways, so when it comes down to it, they're going to have a fish fry. But before so, we have a scene where, did this happen in episode 8? This happened in episode 9, where, because Charlize and Alicia meet up a couple times. I think it happened in episode. I'm just going to put it here. And if it was episode 9, I'm sorry, y'all. Sorry. But Alicia and Charlize have their very first one-on-one with each other. And Charlize is, breaking it down to her. She wants to know more about her and everything about her life and, what she does and, everything. And, her family dynamics and all of that. And what Alicia tells Charlize is that, she has a marketing corporate job. She likes to do her hosting job because she likes a little extra money. She does run into athletes and rappers and things like that. So she has a very fast-paced life. And as Miss Charlize is processing all this, she's thinking, oh, she's quick and easy. And, my son just got out of that crazy club life. And now with her, will he go back to it? And I'm all like, so if your son doesn't have any resistance, that's your problem, not Alicia's problem. Because he could tell her, or he could say, hey, you don't need to work that job no more. I got us. So miss me with that, Miss Charlize. But they then make the conversation, a little bit personal. What we learned is that Alicia's mom had stage 2 breast cancer, and it was very aggressive. And, she said that her mom had to hold it together for them. They kept their faith alive. And it did move Miss Charlize, because I believe Miss Charlize is also a breast cancer survivor. So she was able to resonate with that and, really have kind of this different approach to Alicia. It doesn't last long, though. I'm going to say this. It does not last long, but it is there. So this is when the ladies are in the kitchen cooking up because, the fish fry has been announced. And, family members are going to start showing up. And Miss Charlize is looking at everybody in the kitchen and cooking. And we notice that Sabrina over there is rinsing off raw ground beef. And everybody's looking at her like, so we're supposed to rinse off raw ground beef? I've never heard anyone do that. I've never seen nobody do that. Now, to be fair, I have not either. Mrs. Best, have you ever seen anybody rinse off ground beef before, raw?
No, you're not supposed to because it's the type of meat, the consistency of it. When you rinse it, you actually cause bacteria to spread and put yourself at heightened risk of becoming sick from your food.
Yep, very true. So, yes. So, Alicia needs a little bit more help when it comes to, cutting up shucking the corn, and he's teaching her. And, Miss Charlize, she over there watching, she peeping. She got Alicia on her peripheral vision. She got her in her x-ray vision. She got her in her clear close vision. She watching this lady like the hawk, just waiting for prey. And it's, to me, it's sad. Mrs. Best, I got to ask you, what is your perception at this point? Not till we move on later on, but at this point with their conversation they had outside to or them being in the kitchen, the fact that she continuously has Alicia in her vision. What do you think this is?
As soon as they did that challenge a couple weeks ago, where they had everyone take off their makeup and discuss how much they spent, I think that's where Miss Charlize dislike for her and disdain for Alicia started to be something she could no longer hide. I think she views the girl as every negative, shallow stereotype that one could have about a woman. I don't think it's all because of her religious beliefs either. I think some of it is Miss Charlize is the type of woman to hate on other women based on something that a man has done. And I feel like she projects that onto Alicia. I know it may sound like, why is she going so deep? But that's just the only thing that I could think at that point for this episode. Because I was like, it doesn't make sense. You should be happy that your child is having a connection with one of the women that you participated in choosing to still be here at this point. So it's weird. Like, it's just very weird. It seems like Miss Charlize, I don't know. There's nothing there's nothing wrong with that girl, but it seems like she's committed to find something wrong.
Okay. Yeah. I agree 100%. She's very committed to that. So the ladies' mothers all show up. We have Bravon's mother show up first. Bravon gets very emotional, very, sad about, her mom being there. It seems like it's something she needed. We also had Sabrene's mom come. We had Alicia's mom come. And Alicia's mom, they go off to the side and she tells her mom that it's been really hard for her here. We're trying to impress his mother. And Elisa's mom said, look, I don't care about that lady. I'm proud of you. You left home at 20. You ain't never had to come back home. You always make a well life for yourself. So I'm happy for you. And, it is what it is. And I agree with that. I feel like if she's doing well for herself and she's really taking care of herself and she's not in any harm's way, I don't understand what Miss Charlize's issue is with her. But it comes time for an elimination. So I really thought Alicia was going to go home this episode. I really did. I said Miss Charlize is not going to keep her. But then when I realized it was actually James's choice, James sends Bravon home and says that, he just doesn't feel like, she's the one for him. And they have a good, and she takes it better than I thought. I thought she was gonna get to crying and get to hollering, get to hooping, but she takes it well. She takes it well, and she walks off. And she tells him, "Hey, I might see you at church," because they go to the same church, but they ain't never seen each other, which is weird, by the way. I just want to point that out. That is very strange. How y'all go to the same church, but ain't never. That must be a big ass church,
I
or
think
y'all
that's
enjoy
the
each other.
other thing. Miss Charlize gives somebody who goes to like a big mega church or something. My family used to go to a mega church actually in the Bay Area called Jubilee Christian Center out in San Jose.
Mm-hmm.
And in my experience going to larger churches, because my mom, for some reason, she likes those kinds, they be having the most, aside from the Baptists, they be having the most judgmental congregations. They just do. So I believe their church is probably that big. Um, Also, that's too close to home because then if they get together and break up, they would have had to see each other at church. That's weird.
Yep, absolutely. So, in terms of that, if the next episode of this, and pretty much the next challenge is to arrange their values of life and what they see. We have faith, money, wealth, health, family, all of that good stuff. So they asked everyone has to participate, including James. And so when it comes down to it, James and Cabernet kind of has similar boards. Faith and God comes first, family second, health third, money fourth. Pretty much the same list. Alicia, however, has a different take. She has family first, then God, then health, money, and just kind of things a little bit in a different order. So Miss Charlize saw that and thought this was another segue in to ridicule this woman even further. So she goes, okay, so why is family first and in faith, second? Like, why is that your, placement? And she said that, when it comes to her hardest times, her hardest struggles, she, calls her family, calls her mother and says, I need you. And her mother prays, gives her the word and everything. So she holds family very core to value because when she needs them, they are there. And she goes, oh, she goes, I just feel this in my spirit. I just feel this, Miss Charlize. I just feel this in my spirit. You value your mom as your God. And I said, whoa, whoa, hold up. Wait a minute. Miss Charlize, where the fuck did you get that from? And you met her mother, by the way. Where did that come from? Because that was out of such a left field that I wasn't ready. My cap fell off my head because I said, wait a minute. Now you think that this lady, this grown woman, values her mother as her God. Oof. Mrs. Best, I need to collect myself. I need you to go first, please.
I don't know. It was an awful thing to say. It proved how judgmental this woman was. Just because someone does not choose to prioritize God first doesn't mean that one, they're not prioritizing God, which she is, because it was in, top
Number
10
two.
list.
Yeah, it was
You
number two.
know, you don't have to agree with people to accept what they are saying. Um, and I don't understand why she doesn't get that. I'd also like to remind her, since she's a Bible loving bitch, that your Bible and your God, Miss Charlize, that you prioritize, says it's not your job to judge this girl. It's not your job to worry about how she prioritizes God and where she places it on the list. That's not your job to judge. That's God's job to judge, Miss Charlize. So it's weird that she operated like that, but I was glad that she did, because she wants to have a problem with this girl for no apparent reason. And to use faith as a way to attack someone is disgusting. To say that somebody is worshiping their parent as God, one could say the same about her and her pastor. So I'm looking at Miss Charlize and I'm just like, this was ignorant. I was glad that her son checked her. And I want everybody in a relationship to understand that whether it's a straight relationship, something different, unconventional situationship, the person you with is supposed to make their family respect you. And so I did respect James for, checking his mama in that
Yeah.
moment. And that's important because that would have been the only thing to give her hope. Because after someone makes a comment like that, you don't deal with them. Like my in-laws on my husband's side of the family have done that to me. Not the mother-in-law, but his dad and them. Like, and now they wonder why I don't deal with them and be like, uh-oh, did we? Y'all know what the hell you did. Miss
Exactly.
Charlize, sometimes when you have in-laws like that, and my in-laws are just like that, judgmental because I was with their son and spending the night before we was married, and they said because of God I was gonna go to hell and all this stuff. People like that, just let them think what they think. That's what I'll say to Alicia. You got to let people think like that the way they think, because she got to judge you because she's miserable herself. But nothing you could really do. But good job to James. But she pissed me off.
She pissed me off as well. And yes, I commend James for checking her as well, because that was out of line. You were out of line. And let me be very clear, because I hate when people like to throw around their Bible and stuff at other people for decisions and choices that they make to navigate this very complicated thing we call life. It behooves me, and it's very troubling to me that you have such a hard on for this young lady. And the fact that you feel in this very moment to judge her based on her core values, which aren't bad, because it could have been a whole lot worse. Money could have been number one, wealth and health could have been number two, and God could have been way at the bottom. If that were the case, then maybe I would see her point of view. Maybe. That's a strong maybe. But at the same time, I just want to let you know, ma'am, you're no better. Because at the end of the day, if we look at the outer circumstances of where you are at this very moment, you are a mother trying to help her son find him a woman on national TV in a house with three other women or four other women when you started this experience. You're no better than her at the end of the day, because you could have easily found him a girl at church. If you were so worried about the elements of what he could fall into, why couldn't he have a girl at the church? Why you couldn't find him one there? Why you had to come on national TV and help him find somebody, even if it was his idea? Why did you co-sign? So that's why I'm saying you're no better than her. So for you to judge her in this moment and for you to belittle her like you just did, shame on you. Shame on you, and shame on all you other people who thought that Miss Charlize had a point, because no, she didn't.
The thing of it is, it's not anybody else's business to tell anyone how to prioritize their relationship with God. A
Right.
relationship with God is something that is personal between the person and God. The Bible, to everybody who is thinks that they're just the greatest Christian out there, literally tells you it is not your job to judge. Now, if you don't want to be around someone or very close to someone because they share different beliefs, that is fine. But you do not humiliate, embarrass, or question people for their beliefs. And that's what Miss Charlize has to understand, because I think it's also important to acknowledge that lady can feel how she feels. The problem is that she's allowing how she feels to cause her to treat this woman in a much more negative fashion from somebody else. And no shade, the other little girl, what was her name? Sabernay?
Mhm.
She's not that interesting, and she seems a little bit dingy. And yeah, she does seem like the chick because she comes from an equally religious family that would accept whatever from Miss Charlize's son, because in the name of Jesus, they don't believe in divorce. But no, I don't like it at all. And if I was Alicia, I would leave.
I would have left too. If it wasn't for this moment, it would be this next moment that I'm about to describe to you guys. So Alicia pulls Miss Charlize to the side, and she said that, she's not really good at really speaking her words out in the moment. So she wrote Miss Charlize a letter. And Miss Charlize looked annoyed from the very get go. But she read, the letter, and it mentions, about her being judged based on everything. She has piercings, tattoos. And Miss Charlize comes up, she goes, "Wait, tattoos? You got a tattoo as well? Where's the tattoo at?" And I'm looking at this lady like, oh, wow, this is not going to go well. Like, Alicia, I hope you know this. Before you even finish that letter, this is not going to go well. She pretty much tells her, she opens up her heart to say, it really did hurt me when you judged me based on my core values. And I'm not saying that my relationship with God is strained in any way. It's actually very strong. And I love the fact that she kind of led her to that. And Miss Charlize goes, I didn't realize that my words really had that big of an effect. So if I hurt you, I'm sorry. I said, wow, wow, wow.
She said what she said, hoping that her words would have a big effect. So it's like,
Exactly.
lady, because there's no other reason to say that.
There's no other reason to treat that lady like you're treating her. Just because that's your son's type, as long as she got a good head on her shoulders, as long as she making her own money, as long as she ain't out there hurting nobody, as long as she ain't out there scamming or scheming or doing anything, what is the problem? And it wasn't if you offended her, you offended her by telling that woman, that grown woman, mind you, that she looks at her mother as her God, when that's not what she said or implied or anything. She just said that her mother holds her close in regards to God and gives her the word, were her exact words, which is what your mother is supposed to do. Isn't that what you do with James? All right, then. So I'm confused on what's the difference. Because whether if she get the word through church or she get the word through her mama, as long as she gets it is the point. But for you to sit up there and continuously, after she has continuously poured her heart out to you, this girl, not once, but twice, or maybe even a third time, has tried to reason with this lady because she realizes it's potentially, this could be her mother in law. She has tried to reason with this lady, but this lady is continuously trying to find a reason not for this lady to move forward with her son. And I think it's utterly disgusting. And like Mrs. Best said, Alicia, I hope you eliminated yourself. Take a page out of Lauren's book, eliminate yourself, and let him have sovereign name. And let's see how long that lasts. I'm just saying, because that to me was very hurtful to watch. It was just her reaction. Like when you looked at Alicia's face, you could tell that she is taking dagger after dagger after dagger from this lady. Because I'm gonna tell you like this, Miss Charlize, your son ain't perfect over there. While you sitting there trying to judge this woman, But that made me mad, y'all. That made me really mad. Like I don't often get mad on religious conversations because I know there's always some bullshit in between. But when you really hear someone tell you your beliefs and what someone does, because that's basically diminishing her mother and what her mother brought her up to do. That was crazy, y'all. I'm sorry. That was crazy. That lady didn't. That lady went for real. I knew Miss Charlize was gonna be a problem, but she took it this time. She took the cake. This is the episode 10. That was her episode. She took that cake. She did. Because that was crazy. But that was pretty much it, y'all. Mrs. Best, is there anything you want to add?
No, people like her though are exactly why people like me don't go to church
Exactly.
because
No,
my
she's the reason
faith,
why a lot of young people don't go to church.
she is the exact reason why. Nobody wants to feel judged while trying to get close to God, trying to build a relationship with God. That's the one area no one wants to feel, judged with. And Miss Charlize, just a terrible person. And I could see why her behavior would cause her son to want to go out and club and do all of these things. So it also shows that she doesn't think highly of her son because you think that this woman having tattoos and being a little more sexual and prior towards the family, you think that that's going to cause your son to think a different way. Moms like her are problematic, and that is all I have to say.
Hmm. Crazy. Well, that was somebody's son, y'all. I think they have two more episodes. I don't know if they extended the episodes, but I thought I read 9 on the pamphlet that I saw for somebody's son. I hope they get a reunion because I need all these ladies to kind of give their perspective of how the show led them to believe and let us and also explain what we did not see. Once again, shout out to Chambrielle, the very first cast member on OWN to actually reach out to me and commenting on my channel. Chambrielle, I hope you're watching again. And once again, I would love to have you on my channel just to kind of get more insight on what we did not see as the viewing public that you'd be willing to share. I would love it if you would do that. Thank you so much once again. And that's it, y'all. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We will be back on my channel just in a couple of hours. I got to do Real Housewives of Atlanta, and then I got to take my ass to work. So I will see you guys soon. Thank you so much for being here, and you have a good one. Bye bye.